All right, we can get started. Keep drawing because I'm still just going to keep talking. So, a painting like this, how are we going to approach? This can just look so overwhelming. Like how you're going to tackle the flowers, especially these white flowers, and how you're going to tackle the windows behind it and all the reflection of the trees that you can see. I'm just trying to explain what I see here as a realistic artist who paint realism. I always try to paint what I see. I don't paint anything out of imagination because that's just not how I think. Some people are good abstract thinkers, some people are more suggestive, and they can just make a very hazy flower or a window. I The way I think is very literal. I paint in a realistic manner, so I paint what I see. And what I see here is a bunch of things. The first important thing that I see here is light. Yes, light, really good, bright sunlight hitting on every element in this picture. You can see the flowers, they are white. They're really white because the light is hitting the harshest here. You can see this part of the vase is again so white, but in reality, if you just look at the vase, it's not going to look white. But because of the way light is hitting here, it's white. And I did this on purpose so that I can show you the contrast here. Same thing as you come down, it's because of the light. And all these empty windows, all these white parts is where the light is hitting really hard. And these dark areas are the areas where there's maximum shadows, right? And they're really dark. And I really wanted to do this because I can show you how to paint the lights and the darks and the shadows and the light and make it really this painting pop out and look like, okay, you can see the sun is here. You can tell the mood of the painting, the temperature. It is a warm afternoon. It's summer. You can see the yellows, the bright colors. So I wanted to convey that feeling of how you feel here right now. So this is why this painting is so important to imagine, to feel, okay, before you start painting. The colors here are very, very obvious. If you can see, there are some nice cool yellows here, and you can see some warms here of orange and yellows and browns. And then there are lots of greens. There's this light green, there's this nice dark bottle green, and there's this really, really dark areas which are, they may look black, but they're actually not black. They are greens, there are shadows, they may have some reds and purples, because you can see how all these colors are adjacent to each other, overlapping and creating this really good harmony of colors here. So we're going to use all these colors because that's how I like to paint. I like to really create all this blend of all the different colors that are present. And before we start this painting, I'm going to explain what are the two techniques we're going to use this in this painting. The first one is wet on dry. So the paint is wet and the paper is dry. So this is wet on dry. The second um, method is, technique is, I'm going to take a wet paintbrush, just wet it here, take some color, maybe pink or red, add some. Again, take some different color, add some. Different color, add some. Do you see how this is all blending? So this is wet on wet. When you want up in a place where everything is just mingling into each other with some really soft edges, you're going to use this technique. And when you want really sharp edges, okay, crisp, this is what you're going to use, wet on dry. So this is more than enough for us to finish this painting, okay? And you can see on my palette all the colors. I have yellow, some light green, some blue. I can also put another green. Now you can just mix paint with this with just 2 or 3 colors. I just have a lot of old colors that are lying from 6, 7 years, and I'm just going to try to use them before they completely dry out. So I'm going to use as many different greens I have to make this painting as fun as possible. Okay, I'm going to keep this here. Okay, and I'm going to also keep my black and white picture here. I'll show you why I need this black and white picture. Because I want to see how light or how dark each color is. You can see how dark this is. You can see how light this is. This is going to give me an idea of how much paint to pick in my brush. So we're going to keep this as reference and paint with this. All right, so how are we going to start this? Should we start the waist first? Should we start the upper areas first? Well, my suggestion is we go from top to bottom because the other areas can dry, and then because we'll have to go and do a lot of layers here. I also want you to keep like some tissue paper here or any like a Kleenex or anything, because I'll tell you how we're going to use this. So I'm going to start with some yellows, okay? And mix nice yellows here. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that the other colors mingle in it very well. I'm going to keep this light, not very dark. Okay. Some green here. Remember, this is very loose, okay? I'm not really trying to fix a shape here, except for this window. Anywhere where I'm seeing like a window shape or like a straight line, and I'm going to keep that intact. The rest, I'm not too worried right now, okay? And so I can take my paper a little bit and I can dab slightly in some places to keep some fun area here. Okay. Next, I'm going to continue again with this yellow here, making sure I'm here. Once again, taking some greens. You can even take blues. Because remember, that dark area, it doesn't matter how green or how perfect that green is. It's an area of shadows, and shadows can be so many colors. And if any color comes out of this area, it's totally fine. We're going to do a lot of overlap of colors here. Okay. I'm going to keep moving from one area to another area. Okay. To make sure this looks light on this area. Just carving out the shape of the flower here. A little bit of green because it is wet on wet. Okay. Next, we move on again here. We can also add a bit of reds here and there because that's how nature is. There's a lot of reds around, even in those green leaves. I can take the paper again, the tissue paper again, and give a few dabs here and there just to make it a little interesting. Can move on again in this area. And again with some greens. You can also add some blues. Okay. And it's okay if a little bit of color overlaps. It's totally fine. Same, we're going to go on this area again. And see, right now we're just kind of repeating colors in different variations, yellows and greens, but different variations. It's a little bit of change here and there. Okay, so that's something we're going to keep in mind. Don't exactly use the same combinations, just change it a little bit. I can take a little bit of blue here. Just keep a little bit of variation. I can take a tiny bit of red here, add in some places. Okay. Next, I'm going to move here again. And you can see as on these areas, it's really light. So make sure it's light so it looks like, oh, there's a lot of light here. Next, again, we're going to move in this area. So the good part about painting something like this is there's a lot of repetition and you don't have to really worry about too many colors, what to use, what not to use. It's just simple stuff, but just repeat it over and over again. So it loosens you up a little bit. Same, I'm going to repeat on the top. And here, this is very important in this area. Okay. You can also mix some purples now. Take some blue and some pink or red, and you can make some purples because there are some purples in this painting and I'm going to use it. I'm going to take some yellow. Take a bit of blue here. I can take some purples too, this way, and add some more variety into it. As much as possible, try to preserve the whites because that's what is going to make this painting glow. And I know I messed up here, but that's okay. Try to wipe it off with your paper because in watercolors, it's hard to get back the white again. So make sure that you don't get inside too much in those areas. All right, we're going to keep continuing the yellow theme here. Again, very light. Same here. This is also super light, almost barely visible, but yeah. And I'll show you how to do this on wet on wet. I'm going to take some clean water. I know it's not clean anymore because there's so much paint on this brush, but just clean water. I'm going to take some paint here, add it. And on this side, different color of paint. Let them all mingle and merge and talk to each other without disturbing them too much. Just just keep them enough to, mingle, but not too much. Same with this. I'm going to wet this area with just plain water. Take some blues, greens. You can see that mostly they are doing the whole work. I don't have to really touch much, right? Just trying to get them some direction to go and talk to in that area. Mix some more purples here. Okay. I'll give you guys a minute to catch, but we will continue with the same sequence. Okay, I'm just trying to clean up some places while you finish the area. Okay, we'll move on with this area. Same wet on wet. You can add as many colors as you like. You can do some blues. You can do some greens and purples. I think I had another blue I can try. Just wanted to make use of certain colors that I haven't in a very long time and they've already dried. So I'm just going to use that. And they look very pretty. You can see that. Okay, this is like a turquoise blue. And you can add some darks already while it is wet. Make use of the opportunity to mingle the colors as much as possible. Same with this area. This area, be careful because you can see there is a stem that's going here. So you have to really be careful of the area around it. I'm not going to touch the stem here. I'm going to be very careful so that they look clean and neat, like almost popping out from that vase. Wetting this area. Same sequence, taking some yellows. Some reds and some greens and some purples. You can see that you can make this painting completely yours the way things mingle on paper. There's really no right or wrong way how you approach this painting. The only thing you need to keep in mind is how the values look, whether they are light or dark. That's all that matters here. That's very, very important. I'm going to take some greens here. Okay. And I can take my paper again and in certain areas dab a little bit to make it look a little more interesting. Yeah, you can see the light is popping. Okay. Same in this area. I'm going to go slow with a similar combination of blues and greens, keeping in mind where the window shape takes place. Continue this area again with some yellows, similar combination. You can put anything here. Remember, the foliage outside can look so different. So you can make it dark green, lighter, whatever you think is good. But the greens, that's why specifically I did not teach in today's class how to mix greens, because you can just make it your own. The lighter ones, the darker ones, they'll all look great here. And then we are here, we can do it dark. Okay. And then we have 2, 3 more. So we'll finish that. Same thing, keep moving forward. You can even add a bit of tinge of red here. A bit of green. Okay. Last is this area. Actually, let's first tackle this and then we'll get into these small, tiny areas. Same thing. We can take some blues as well, these blues. Okay. Same, a little bit of these colors. Oops, I think that was too much, but it's okay. You can take some and pull some off from here. Okay. The most challenging part would be in these areas where the areas are very small, and this is the most complicated area because here you need to handle the lights and darks so that it looks real. Okay. So, how are we going to do this? We can do this first by creating the lights here. Okay. I'm going to use the yellows and the similar greens mixed with some yellows here to make the lighter first, and then around it I'm going to paint some darks. Okay. So, or you can even take the opposite approach. First do the darks, and then the lights will automatically appear. So let's see which one works here. But I'm going to start with some lights here, mixed with a little bit of yellow. So first I'm going to start here. Keep it light. Remember, this is really light. It's barely seen here. Okay. And I'm going to take a little bit of darker green as well to add some variety to it. Same way, I'm going to keep going down with some more yellow and some green mix. I'm going to keep very light greens right now because I need the darker greens in the end to highlight the other places. Keeping it light as much as possible. Mostly sticking to yellows or yellowy green, not much of green here. Same way, I'm going to keep this here. And make sure keep them very thin. Okay. This is important for it to look like those thin stems. If you like, use a very thin brush here. I'm okay, comfortable with this thick brush. And same, I'm going to continue with this again. Okay. Then we're going to define a little bit of structure in this base here so that we now trying to find a little bit of boundaries here. Okay. I'm going to take some green. You can see there's a bit of green here. Okay. And I'm going to mark this area here. But I know not to go beyond this. Same here, not to go beyond this, not to go beyond this, not to go beyond this. I can take a little bit more extra dark green here, make this one a little darker and this one a little darker. They all have to look a little different, okay? Same thing here. Next, I'm going to draw a little more boundaries, and I'll show you where. I'm going to take some nice, this is a blue. It's, I think, Prussian blue. And draw some boundaries here. Okay. Mixing it with a little bit of red here. Some little darker here. And then yeah. Okay. I'm going to take some yellow. I have this golden yellow here, nacrid in gold. Okay, it's a yellow basically, nothing fancy. And again, I'm going to draw a little bit of structure to this vase. Okay. Same, give a little bit of structure here. Yeah, I'll wait for everyone to catch up a little bit. I know sometimes I tend to go very fast. I get lost in the painting, but I'll give you guys a minute to catch up. Okay. Next, we can go and get these areas. Actually, we need a little more boundary here so that we don't forget a little bit of blue. Okay. I'm going to take the same light green mixed with tinge of yellow. Okay. And as you can see, alternate between some greens and yellows, light and dark. Make sure you keep some space here because that's going to show that the light was hitting there. So it's different. I'm going to take some yellow here. Same, get in this area. Almost like, I don't know how to, it's like triangles, okay? You're just creating some lovely triangles of different colors, okay? And just mostly yellows and greens. I'll let it dry for a second so they don't all spread into each other. And you can see that how they'll all shine once this painting is complete. Just keeping the yellows intact. Tiny bit of blue here, just that reflection. Okay. Just trying to fix this area. There was a bloom here. I think there was too much water. Just correcting that. And here also, you can see it's not soft enough. So I'm just going to take some plain water and just soften this because it looks very harsh. Which I don't want. Okay, and I can take some paper and just dab it so that they soften it, look softened, not very harsh lines. Okay, let me go back again with the greens here. You can go here again. Tiny bit of maybe blue to darken it because I need a little bit of variation in greens as well. You can see as it comes down, this color of the green changes as well. Okay. Okay. Next, we can go in here and fill these gaps before we tackle this small area. Same concept, you can see, we just see this shape, this place as a shape, okay? Light, really light, yellow, some green, okay? And keep going adjacent to each other. See how dark or each area is, okay? So this is darker definitely. So we want to make sure that this is dark. Take some green, mellow it down. Some yellow. Same. Some yellow. And I even saw some nice purples here. Some lovely variety. Okay, I did make a mistake here. There was no color here, but it's okay. Uh, it's actually the window. That's okay. Okay, same with the green. Okay. And this in between areas, there are some darks here that I'm going to tackle. Okay. Wow, we almost got like a skeleton for this painting, except for this part. We will handle this part, but almost there, right? Now what we're going to do is obviously let this dry, and we'll finish this part before we get here because we want this to be dried a little bit, okay? So I'm going to see again if I need some yellows here and some greens. Okay. And this area has a bit of dark here and there. That's good. It helps, it pops out to see there is variation of the stems here. Here you can see there's not much to paint. It's like a blob of color. We can just take some purple and blue and make it look like, yeah, there is some reflection going on of the vase, but we don't know exactly, which is great. Like you just painting what you see, you don't have to worry about what the shape is. Okay. We're just going to cover the area with the shape that looks interesting. Same here, some greens here. Okay. We'll do the flowers in the end because I know that's going to really highlight everything. In the meanwhile, what we're going to do is we're going to um, finish uh, these areas again. Now I'm going to work only in the dark areas here, okay? Because we did a lot of lights, but we need the dark. I'm going to mix a lot of purple here so that they are very, very dark, okay? Nice thick paint, lots of dark here. And I'm going to start from this end. You can see this is so dark. Okay. Believe me, once it dries, it's going to look so light. Okay. Same. You can take some blue, take some of this, even the green, whatever color you're taking, make it really dark. Okay. At this point, I'm not focusing on the exact color. I'm focusing on the contrast here that will make the painting pop out. Okay. Take some of the green here. Okay. Can even add some more purple here. See, it dried out. It's so light. So I'm going to go again in and fill in. Okay. Same again. Keep adding as dark as possible. The contrast should be really loud. Feel free to use your imagination of colors. It's okay. I'm using everything that's available in these dry tubes because I want them to be over now. I want to buy new paints. That's the most exciting part. And so I'm going to go with a little bit of green here, give it more variety. See, what I'm seeing is I just keep seeing some shapes here and I keep having fun with it by creating these shapes with some paint. So it becomes very suggestive too with this painting, even though we're painting realistic, some part of it is suggestive because it is so blurry, right? So that's again a fun part in watercolors. Okay, we're going to go again here and I'm going to make some darks here. Same. We're going to continue. Okay. Same. We're going to continue with this darks, making it interesting wherever possible. I can add some greens. I can add some yellows again, right? We have one more window here, making it super dark. You don't need exact shapes here. It's okay. We do have this area. Thing. A little bit of red and purple here. I think this is good. Just getting wherever the darks are. Moving quickly so that the paint doesn't dry. But you can see now from a distance, maybe you're close to the paper, but I can see from the camera how beautiful this is looking because of the contrast that is created, the amount of colors that are here. Just softening some edges here. I don't want to look very, very harsh. You can also take your paper towel and just dab it, or soften those edges. Okay, we are almost done with this. Now, before we move on to the flowers, we have these small areas that we can take care. They're just like shadows. I can just put some water here. Take some brush with some fill color, not too thick. Just gently make some shapes of like leaves. Okay. This is good for now. We'll get into the darks a little bit. I think it's too wet right now. So yeah, we'll have to wait. All right. How do we do the flowers now? Okay, before the flowers, we just have small areas to finish. Once we are done, we can get into the flowers. Okay, I'm just going to fill in these again because they become light. I'm going to continue to fill in these. Taking some dark purples or even greens, I'm going to highlight these dark areas. Okay, this is good. We just have the flowers left. I'll give you guys a minute to catch, and then we are almost done. Maybe 10 more minutes, and then we're almost done. Okay. All right. I'm going to get into a smaller brush because now this is very, very tiny. So how do you do the flowers? Okay. And because it's almost white, I'm not going to touch anything. But there are certain areas, like in between here, where I need some color. So I'm going to start with some orange, take some red and some yellow mixed. Okay. And just get into that shape. just look at the shape here. That's all. Okay. Same. And in the top, I'm going to take the same yellow and the same red, but in the darker combination. Little more dark. Okay. More paint. You can even use different kind of reds to make it dark. And I'm going to put a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom. Same here. Top. Like a cone. They're mostly like cones, right? Okay. Next, I think I'm going to take a little bit of brown here. And again, I'm going to get into the bottom here to give that depth that it's inside. The flower is inside, right? It's embedded inside. It's going to be nice and dark. Okay. Take a little bit of yellow. Here and there. Sorry. Next, if you can see, the flowers actually have a little bit of shadow areas of the same orangish, yellowish tone. I'm going to take very light and in some areas just pull out some stems. A little bit of yellow. Here I can see some dark areas that I forgot. So I'm going to just add that. Some stems that were left behind needs to be completed with some dark and light areas. I'm going to take some of the blue and the green to mix to make them dark. Some leaves. Same. And to continue with some leaves. Okay. While I let that dry, there's some areas in the windows that need some color. Okay, I'm going to take some blue. I'm going to go down. Just same with purples. Very light. Remember, very light. Same with the purples here. Okay. This could be lighter. We can fix this once it's dry. I can remove some color. Okay. Now you can see that the flowers automatically popped up because the areas were left with no color. So it took the shape of the white that were left behind, right? So this is how you do white in watercolors. You cannot, you can use white paint, but not this much. It's really looks very unrealistic. White in watercolors is the white of the painting. Okay. So that's how we try to preserve our whites, either through masking fluid that takes time to dry, and so we're not using in this class, or we try to do it like this without not putting any color there. Okay, so you can see that how in the front we got some really crisp elements of the vase and the flowers, and in the background it was all very hazy, right? We really didn't give much shape and importance to these greens in the foliage, but here we gave some structure. So this is very important to make the painting look three-dimensional. Okay, so this is how you do something realistic in watercolors where you need some shapes as well. And I think in the end, you just sign the painting, very important. And then, yeah, I think this piece is done. And I hope you really enjoyed this painting. Maybe a few areas here and there, I know darks here and there because they are getting lighter. But sometimes in watercolors, we have to go back and fix those lights and darks. But this is how you paint this kind of scene. And if you have any subjects or themes in mind, I would love to paint that. So please let us know in the comments if you like to paint something specific, and I'll try to do that. And if you want a written feedback, send me your paintings, and then I'll be happy to paint, give you a written feedback of how to improve. If you need any list of materials, I'll be happy to do that. Thank you everyone for joining.